I know when you're first starting out you might not have all the tools that you need to do certain projects. Tools are expensive and it takes a long time to accumulate enough tools to do the job correctly. There are ways around that sometimes. For example, when you're trying to square up a project, whether it be something small or larger, there's certain things you can do if you don't own a framing square or a combination square, or what I don't have in my hand is a speed square would be another common one as well. You can use your tape measure to figure out if something is square, 90 degrees on the corner. How can I tell if this old piece of plywood that's been cut off of another piece is completely square if I wanted to start a project? If I had a framing square, I could very easily hold up the framing square to the edges of the board and see if I'm 90 degrees, at least within this distance. I see a little daylight, so it's not perfect. If I didn't have this, I would have to use what's called the 3, 4, 5 method. From one corner, I would measure 3 inches and put a little mark. From that same corner, the other direction, I would mark a 4-inch spot. And if this is a true 90-degree angle, I can measure across, and it should be exactly 5 inches, which it is. Now obviously, I only know this is square from here to here. This is a long board. I can add that together to get in multiples to make a bigger area. Instead of 3, 4, and 5, I can do 6, 8, and 10. Still square. I can do 9, 12, and 15. Still square. You can do the same thing in feet. If you're building a deck or a wall for a shed, to make sure the corners are square, you could use feet instead of inches. It goes on and on. Doesn't matter how big the project gets. Another way of figuring out if something is square is by measuring across diagonally through a rectangle or a square, and we need to make sure that both measurements are the same. So if this frame that I have set up here, if I have that set exactly square, I can measure one distance from one corner to the other, where I have approximately 17 and 9/16. And then the other corner to corner measurement is a little less. It's only 17 and 7/16, which tells me that I need to shift this over to make this a little bit longer this way. Keep measuring until you have both measurements exactly the same. And again, this can go big. If you're building a deck, a shed, a garage, a garden area, and you want it to be completely square, you simply get a longer tape measure and measure that distance from corner to corner both ways, and those measurements should be exactly the same. I hope this helps. If you are starting to build projects at home, I would highly recommend purchasing a square. I showed you a combination square earlier. A framing square is a good place to start. There's many different types, many different sizes. Something this large, 2 feet by 16, will help you do a lot of projects. You don't want anything too big to start anyway, but this will help you with smaller projects as well.